pressure at a fluid, pressure, what is pressure? We talked about pressure at a point in a fluid that is at rest. Okay. Now this fluid here that we keep referring to, it could be in two kinds of environments. One is that is more common for us because we are on Earth. When you have a fluid that is on the surface of Earth or a planet, okay, you are going to have gravity, and gravity obviously exerts a force on the fluid such that it creates a weight of the fluid. Okay. Now, if you have to deal with a fluid that is away from any major source of gravity like a planet, suppose you have some liquid that is in outer space. Let's assume it's not a huge quantity of a fluid, like it's not a planet by itself or something. It's just a blob of liquid that is in outer space. What you will have is the pressure at this point, or the pressure in the fluid, is not subjected to any particular force. Okay, it's just the fluid. The molecules have intermolecular forces, but that's not a very strong force compared to gravity. What you have is the pressure at every point is due only to the molecules, and that it's almost uniform throughout the entire fluid. That is, if you don't have any gravity. You could be in an environment where there is gravity or some other force acting on the fluid. That is, you could have the fluid being subjected to some kind of force. It is still at rest, it is still being compressed maybe, but it is not being sheared. So these forces can only be body forces that compress or expand the fluid, meaning they are only normal forces, but not shear forces or tangential forces. If you have a fluid that is subject to forces that are acting on the entire fluid, not just on the surface, like what I mean by body forces, if you have a bucket of water, you have gravity acting on every portion of the fluid. That's called a body force. A body force acts on every portion of the fluid. A shear force acts only on the surface. It's related only to the surface. That's why we call it a shear force or a tangential force. It's not applied directly to the molecule at the bottom here. It's applied only to the top layer of fluid molecules, whereas a body force acts on every molecule that is within this liquid. That's the distinction. So we have a liquid that may be subject to gravity on Earth, or it may be subject to any other body force, and we need a formalism to understand how pressure varies in a fluid that is at rest. This whole chapter is about a fluid that is at rest. Okay, that goes without saying, at least in this lecture. How pressure varies in a fluid that is at rest under gravity. We want to understand how pressure varies in a fluid that is in rest under the gravity. That is, what I mean by that is, you have let's say a water tank whose height can be considerable. Let's say the height is about 30 meters. Okay, this water tank is filled with water, and let's say the top surface is exposed to the atmosphere. Forget all the math, just think visually, what is the situation here? You have air here, the molecules that make up air, or the fluid that is air, it will obviously exert a force or pressure that's That's what we call as atmospheric pressure at the top. So this is atmospheric pressure at the top layer of the water. Okay. So this layer of water is subject to the pressure exerted by the atmosphere, and not only that, the atmosphere above it has some weight. It has some weight. Maybe it's negligible, we won't care about it, but it has some weight. If you consider the next layer of water, the next layer, and let's say the water at the bottom, the water at the bottom bears the weight of everything that is above it. Everything that is above it. The water here at some intermediate height, it bears the weight of everything above it. The water at the top here, it bears the weight of the air that is above it. Or in other words, if I ask you, the pressure in this situation, we want to understand how the pressure varies, but you can at least see that the water that is at the bottom is subjected to a higher force than at this level, than at this level, than at the top. So we want to see what is the variation of pressure. Is the pressure here same as here and here? Your everyday experience tells you that it is not. I'll give you two examples. One below the surface and one above the surface. If you are over here, and suppose this is an underground well, and if you are standing here at the top and you jump in here to take a swim, you do know that if you have done scuba diving, as you go down in depth, the water above you exerts a higher pressure on you, and that's why your ears kind of feel dense or feel heavy as you swim deeper and deeper. You do know that the pressure below the ground is going to be higher than the pressure at the ground. That's because the weight of water above you keeps increasing. For the same reason, if you are here and you board an airplane and the airplane goes up to a height of 30,000 feet, one thing that you must never do is intentionally open the door of an aircraft, and what that will create is all the pressurized air inside your aircraft or the cabin will be lost instantly, and what you will have is that you will be exposed to the extreme vacuum of this upper altitudes, and it can potentially be fatal for humans. Why that is so is, as you go higher, the amount of air that is above this level continuously decreases, and as a result the pressure decreases as you go up. Pressure increases as you go down, pressure decreases as you go up, and what that clearly implies is pressure varies along the direction of gravity. That is, if you think of acceleration due to gravity, if this is the surface of the earth, if you are here, the gravitational force acts along this direction. Okay? If you go up, pressure decreases because the weight of fluid that is above a certain level decreases, and if you go down, pressure increases. So the takeaway is pressure varies along the direction of gravity, and our task now is how does it vary, how to make it quantitative. Like, is there a specific rate at which pressure changes with altitude or depth, and that's what we are going to calculate here. So let's suppose we take a liquid, we take a specific point P, and around the point P, let's draw a small volume. Okay, this is a cubical element of sides delta x, delta y, and delta z. Okay, so let this be the z direction. It's going to be z, it's going to be x, and y comes out of the plane of the paper. That is, if you are watching this video, y is coming towards you. Okay, so the sides are delta x, delta z, and delta y. Okay, so I'll draw it here. Delta x, delta z, and delta y. Delta x, delta z, and delta y. Delta y. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm considering the point P at the center here, and I'm going to say the pressure at P, let it be lowercase p. Okay, let it be lowercase p. I'm just saying the pressure at this point is P. I don't know what the pressure is going to be on these faces or the forces on these faces, but we'll talk about it. So the pressure at point P is given by lowercase p. We are considering a volume of fluid. Volume of fluid equals the volume of this cubical element, which is delta x, delta y, delta z. Okay, this is what we are considering here. So this face here, if you take the faces, I'm going to consider this side face. This side face has an area of delta y, delta z. This bottom face has an area of delta x, delta y. Okay, and this top face, sorry, this front face, has an area of delta x, delta z. Okay, so I am trying to say, or I am trying to derive a relation between pressure and gravity or height. What do I mean by that? So this is the z direction, right? I am writing that gravity is along this direction. Gravity is along this direction. Actually, just a small change just to be consistent with the textbook is that the textbook considers z to be pointed upwards, okay, and it considers this to be y direction. I'm sorry, I don't think it matters, so let's just say x direction. Okay, so the only change is gravity is pointing down, so this has to be negative g, or I'll write it as g times minus k cap. Okay, now where do we begin? The fluid is at rest. From your statics course, what that means is if a fluid is at rest, the sum of all the forces acting on it must sum up to 0. Right? Sum of all the forces acting on it should add up to 0. And we'll split this into 3 equations. The sum of all the forces along the x direction should add up to 0. Forces along y should add up to 0. And forces along z should add up to 0. Just splitting a vector into 3 components. Okay. Let's do the x component first. Let's consider what are all the forces that are acting in the x direction. So if I redraw my cubical element, I'm concerned only about the forces that are along the x direction, which is this. Okay. Here is point P. is along z direction, so it won't play a part here. I have this face and I have this face. I have these two faces. Now, I have the pressure at this point to be P, and I have to denote what is the pressure force like on these faces. Now, question for you is pressure a compressive or expansive stress? Is pressure a compression or an expansion? To answer that question, you need to think about what causes pressure. What causes pressure? It's the molecules bombarding a surface. If you have a wall, the molecules constantly bump off the wall, and when they bump off, what do? If you are here, a molecule, you get reflected, and in that process you give the wall a punch or an impulse. That is, each time a molecule hits the wall, it delivers an impulse to the wall that's like a force that is towards the wall, that is compressing the wall. So as a result, every impact creates a pressure that acts on the wall in this direction. It acts on the wall in this direction, and this is true of an arbitrary surface that you place in the liquid. If you place a surface here, it's going to, so the molecule here, its velocity turns around, and what you have here is a net force towards the surface. So pressure, these are a golden statement about pressure. Pressure is always compressive and normal to a surface. By normal we mean perpendicular. Pressure is always compressive and pressure is always, by definition, perpendicular to a surface. So if I write if I have to draw what is the direction of the pressure on this side wall, it's going to be perpendicular to the surface and towards the surface. So we cover this compressive with this arrow, and because the angle is 90 degrees, we cover the normal aspect or perpendicular aspect. Okay. If you ask me what is the pressure on this surface, it's normal to this wall. If you put a random surface in here and ask what is the pressure or direction of pressure on that surface, it's normal to the wall. From this side, it's normal to the surface. It is always compressive and always normal to a surface. So very important. We'll use it a lot of times, so hopefully you will understand it and be able to apply it. So here we are. We are talking about the pressure along, or the forces along the x direction. The pressure on this face acts normal to it. The pressure on this side face also is normal. So it's going to be perpendicular to this face here. So even though my diagram is kind of hard to see or hard to read, what we have is pressure acts over this surface. So the force, I'll call this face as 1 and call this face as 2. Force on face 1 is the pressure that acts on face 1 multiplied by the area of face 1. Pressure is force per area, so usually we write force as pressure times area, very common. The force on phase 2 is pressure on phase 2 times the area of phase 2. Okay. Now we draw the positive x direction this way. So if you look at this phase, the pressure on phase 1, since it is compressive, it has to point along the negative x direction. The pressure on phase 2, since it is compressive and this surface is perpendicular to x axis, it has to be along the positive x direction. The total force along the x direction is the sum of these two forces, because whatever acts on the top surface is pointing down, that's z. Whatever is acting on this surface, the front surface, is acting this way, that's along y. So that won't appear here. So I have minus P1 A1 plus P2 A2. Sum of the forces minus P1 A1 plus P2 A2, and this should add up to 0 because the fluid is at rest. Okay. So what do I have here? I have minus P1. Okay. So remember, this is x and this is z. I'm sorry. This is z. Okay. So here is the point P, which has coordinates x, y, z, and this length is delta x. This whole length is delta x. So this section here is at a distance x plus delta x over 2, and this section here is at a length or an x coordinate x minus delta x over 2. The pressure at x plus delta x over 2 is the pressure at x plus the rate of change of pressure with respect to x multiplied by the distance. The pressure at this phase, if I write it as a Taylor series expansion, if I write this pressure as a